Good morning. How
Good
are you?
morning. Good morning, everyone. We are so glad to have you with us today on the chat session on the This Way Network. And I'm
Yay.
your host, and over there is Rodney Allen Rippey,
Yay.
other host. And today we are so thrilled to have with us Aaron Schwartzbart and Terry Schwartzbart. Aaron is with Motor Gospel Ministries, and he's got lots of great updates to give us. And Terry is a Salvadoran fine artist who has been all over the globe, and she also has some great updates for us. So we can't wait to bring those to you this morning. Good morning, Aaron and Terry. How are you?
Good morning.
Good morning.
Thank you
Happy
for
to be
having
here.
us.
Yeah.
Good. That's
Terry, am I
awesome.
pronouncing your name correctly?
Tere.
Tere. Okay.
You did it
Sorry, I'm working on it.
It's like
That's okay.
TEH for us gringos. It's like TEH, te, and then DAY, day, with the accent on the first syllable. Te, day, tere.
Tere.
Yeah.
Okay. I like that.
It's hard for us to look at an R and think phonetically TEH and then DAY, but TERE is TEHDAY with the accent on the first syllable.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Well, we certainly welcome you to the chat session here on the This Way Network. How you like that? We got you guys.
That's cute. Wow. Good job, guys.
Awesome.
And y'all are beautiful there on the red carpet.
Yeah, that was actually, I had the pleasure of being there and watching Aaron's incredible, I guess it would be like a docudrama, your film. Yeah. And it actually really shows what he has been doing for so many years here in Southern California, trying to make our streets safer. We're going to get into that as well, but it's just amazing. So, Aaron, tell us, how did Motor Gospel Ministries come about?
Executive summary: I came out the womb hardwired to turn into a Charles Manson or a Ted Bundy. Every time I got a steering wheel in my hand, I was born that way. With all due respect to behavioral psychologists and sociologists and James Dobson and such, nobody taught me to be that way. I wasn't abused. I was born with a dark side. There was a little wild animal in my heart in a cage, and occasionally somebody would forget to lock the cage and it would come out in a big way. And in many areas of my life, but most notably in there was a picture of my face, and I should have been dead or in prison 100 times over, not an exaggeration. My daily commute was 90 miles an hour on 35 mile an hour surface streets in rush hour traffic, weaving in and out of cars. And one day, much to my surprise, as an arrogant Jewish atheist rocket scientist, some simple Christians, they didn't try to reason with me. They didn't employ apologetics or any of this stuff. They just asked if they could pray for me, and they trusted God. And as a real atheist, I wasn't bothered by their fairy tale. A lot of people desperately want to be atheists. They call themselves atheists, but they lay awake at night thinking about this God in whom they don't believe. They don't do that with Santa Claus or the Easter Bunny or whatever, right? I was a real atheist. I wasn't bothered by God. I wasn't bothered by Christians. They weren't hurting me in any way. But these simple, humble Christians, Dennis and Ginny Kinoshita, laid hands on me and prayed for me. And as an arrogant atheistic rocket scientist, I felt electricity go up and down my back for about a minute and a half while they prayed. Might I tell you, that was an attention getter that a scientist could not ignore. We true scientists deal objectively with evidence. We deal with chromosomal evidence. We deal with climactic evidence, etc. We know Albert Einstein is a scientist, Al Gore is a politician, and
Wow.
As an arrogant atheistic rocket scientist, I couldn't ignore the electricity. I asked them if they touched my back or something like that, because there was no explanation for it. I knew they didn't, but I asked, and they said, no. Why do you ask? And I said, because I felt like something like electricity going up and down my back. And they said, yes, that's the Holy Spirit. That happens all the time. They weren't even surprised by it. And I'm not sure which evidence was more compelling, the evidence of the electricity or the evidence of the fact that they weren't jumping up and down like they had just seen somebody walk on a swimming pool. This was par for the course for them. I stopped being an atheist that night. I did not become a Christian that night. Extremely skeptical, not one to sign on the dotted line and join a club and stuff like that. I had many questions, and I had experiences like that for the next several years, and finally surrendered my life to Christ about 1993. And I've been using my pathological tendencies with the steering wheel for good instead of being a problem in the community ever since, about half my life now.
So how do you do that, Aaron? How do you use those pathological tendencies?
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. I compete in the John 316 race car throughout the Western United States. I have 5 championships in the car. I'm a driving it. There it is. That's a NASCAR powered Porsche 914, poor man's Porsche, bastardized by Volkswagen blood in the early 70s. And they intentionally kept it underpowered so it wouldn't compete with the rich man's Porsche as a business decision. They didn't want everybody buying the poor man's Porsche if they could afford the rich man's Porsche. So they had to keep it slow. So they put a 75 horsepower Volkswagen engine in it. And then people realized, because it was mid-engine, whereas the flagship rich man's Porsche is rear-engine. Mid-engine is a lower moment of inertia. It corners faster. It's a better car overall. So people started realizing if you put some power in the 914, the poor man's Volkswagen / Porsche, it would beat the flagship rich man's Porsche. And they killed the 914 as a marketing decision as soon as people started figuring out it would be a faster car, even though it was the cheap, humble poor man's Porsche. So mine has a NASCAR motor in it, not a 75 horsepower Volkswagen engine. It spins the rollers from 90 to 180 miles an hour in 13 seconds on the dyno. It corners, it brakes, it does everything wonderfully for a tiny fraction of what one would pay for a Lamborghini or something like that of similar performance.
That's right.
I
had the pleasure of seeing this car personally, and we've had some events out here in Southern California, and Aaron, he is a community guy. He brings this car out and people gawk at it and it roars and it's got this incredible engine. And to see him, in competition and there's video and things out there of him, really getting on this thing. And beyond that, Aaron is an incredible driver too. The Lord touched him and took him off of our streets. I mean, because he was a wild man on the streets, and there is a huge problem all across America where people, young people, adults, senior citizens, people are being very, very crazy, and they're turning our city streets and highways into raceways, and people are dying. The communities are in an uproar, and Aaron is so heavily connected to LAPD, the Metro Division, the LA sheriffs and CHP, because they're all trying to figure out how can they stop these what they call street takeovers and the stunt shows and the racing. And Aaron has come up with a wonderful idea. He has a whole list of all of the real racetracks where people can go and not get in trouble and really compete with some guys that know how to drive like Aaron. Talk about that a little bit, Aaron.
Yeah. One of the many excuses that the hoodlums make for why they need to be endangering people on public sidewalks and such is the fallacious claim that there's nowhere to race legally, right? Now we know there are some bad people out there. I was one of them. They're not making excuses because they're dealing honestly with life. They're making excuses because they want to do things their way. Hamas somehow got relatively educated, liberal civilian girls in America to stand in solidarity with their raping, innocent civilian girls in Israel. And doing mastectomies with box cutters without anesthesia and mocking the girls as they were dying by passing their severed breasts around amongst themselves and laughing. Somehow there are bad people out there. I was one of them. I know what it feels like to stand in their shoes. And they're not necessarily making excuses because they're dealing honestly with objective evidence. They're telling lies to justify whatever their evil nonsense is. So one of those lies, and I'm not gonna, I'm not gonna convince somebody who, one moment. Yes, ma'am. I'm not going to convince somebody who's determined to do dark stuff and justify it with lies. I'm not going to convince them to deal honestly with evidence. But for the rest, for the subset that are just trying to find their way, they're 16 or 18 years old. They really want to be race car drivers. They're absolutely clueless. They've grown up watching the Fast and the Furious and not realizing that that's like Santa Claus. That's make believe. That's not really what happens when you crash at 140 miles an hour without a cage, a harness, and a helmet and such. For that subset, one of their excuses that they might actually believe is that there's nowhere to race. So on our website, one of my mantras, to use that word colloquially, one of my mantras is, if you want to ski, go to the snow. If you want to surf, go to the beach. If you want to race, come to the track. And motorgospel.org has, yes, we give people the opportunity to race against police officers in the LAPD branded race cars that we provide to the LAPD. They're not generally allowed to use taxpayer funded vehicles for such frivolity. So we provide, black and white race cars to the LAPD to use to race against the little hoodlums. On the motorgospel.org site, there's a tab called Where to Race. And Where to Race, not unlike Where to Ski or Where to Surf, Where to Race shows greater than 20 legal venues spanning San Diego to Bakersfield. They are without excuse. There are greater than 20 legal racing events. And this is not just racing, because one of the other excuses the hoodlums use is, well, if it's not this kind of racing, then I'm not interested. I have the little hoodlum drag racers that don't know how to brake and don't know how to turn and don't know how to shift, telling me that what I do isn't real racing because it's not racing a quarter mile in a straight line. And at Fontana, on my budget, I'm coming in 158 miles an hour into turn one. I'm running over top a pack of cars doing 125 miles an hour. We're all on their budget. We're all getting passed by somebody else, a precious few that on their budget are doing in excess of 200 miles an hour. And 50 of us are slamming into the same turn in a pack of bumper to bumper cars ranging from 125 to 200 plus miles an hour. Yes, there you go. My book, Why Motorsports Belongs at the Track. There's a chapter devoted in this book to where to race legally and why racing belongs to the track, and why, if you want to ski, you should go to the snow. And if you want to surf, you should go to the beach. And if you want to race, you should come to the track. If some quarter mile straight line hoodlum that doesn't know how to brake or turn or shift or anything wants to tell me that it's not real racing, when I'm doing 158 miles an hour, running over top of people doing 125, getting passed by people doing 200, we're all slamming into the same turn. If that's not racing, I kind of don't know what is. And I would challenge any of the quarter mile hoodlums to come to the track and get in a pack of bumper to bumper cars like what I do, ranging from 125 to 200 plus, and show us how it's done if they think they got some.
You got to tell me, because I've driven fast cars myself, but when you are at that high rate of speed and you're coming into the corners and you've got 3 people on you, everything, it must be in the nanoseconds of calculation of where you're going to go, because you're not trying to, you're not out there demolition derby. You've got $100,000 or more tied up in your car,
right?
And you're trying to keep it together, win, and not injure yourself or somebody else. What does that feel like?
It's beyond anything that anybody can understand. It's almost like taking LSD or something in terms of the alteration of one's perspective, right? So here's a little perspective. You spin off the track. You're sitting in a mountain of baby powder, trying to get the car restarted, and you're waiting for the person. This is an example. This is, we'll get to what you asked about, but this one is kind of illustrates the point. You're looking at a corner worker, so you don't re-enter the track unsafely in front of somebody. The corner worker gives you the cue, watches the other traffic that's coming, gives you the cue as to when it's safe to re-enter the track. A car going 125, a mere 125 miles an hour, is doing 200 feet per second. 125 miles an hour is around 200 feet per second. And that car is far enough away that you can safely re-enter the track as ascertained by corner workers that have flags and radios, and they have corner worker stations distributed throughout the race course. And so they give you the go ahead and they say, go. 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000. That's not an unreasonable time for you to have gotten the clutch out in the baby powder, trying to restart the car after you spun off track, and to get from, 50 or 100 feet away from the edge of the track to the edge of the track and re-enter the track. Does that seem like an eternity? 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3,
No,
1,000, 4 seconds.
I could not imagine.
Right.
I couldn't imagine having that much pressure, and you're trying to get out of the way, and this bullet is coming at you at 120.
Right. So here's the thing. So if 1,000, 2, 1,000, 3, 1,000, 4, 1,000, if you're picturing yourself letting the clutch out in baby powder, trying not to just spin aimlessly in the baby powder and limp it to the edge of the track, re-enter the track, you can see that 4 seconds is not a lot of time, right? That's you might even take 10 seconds, right? So let's imagine it's 4 seconds at 200 feet per second. And it took you 4 seconds to get to the edge of the track from the time that the corner worker told you it's fine to re-enter. How far did that car go? 200 feet per second times 4 seconds. That car went 800 feet, right? So that car was 800 feet away from you when the corner worker said it's fine to re-enter the track. And if you can get the thing lit and let the clutch out in 4 seconds in baby powder and get onto the track. If you can do that in 4 seconds, you've now just pulled right in front of the car that it has arrived at where you're entering the track. And this is to your question about, what does that feel like in nanoseconds? And my answer that it's such an altered state of mind. It's almost like taking psychedelics or something, because that car literally came out of nowhere. It's not an exaggeration in your perception. We forget the machines may be perfect, but the humans are, we have finite reaction time and we have finite senses and stuff. In your perception, that car was 800 feet away. You never even saw that car come in, and you pulled right in front of him.
One of the things, because what a lot of people don't understand, and young people, they're out here on the streets and they're racing. And you see these horrific car accidents that happen because someone comes out of a side street, someone gets in their car, they don't know this thing is going on up the street, and they decide maybe it's their fault. They're making an illegal U-turn, or they're turning out of a driveway, and these cars are coming. What people don't understand is, even on the racetracks, you guys have soft compound tires. The tires are sticky. They're gummy. The surface has a lot of rubber laid down, so the cars grip. Even if you're on a street on city highways and you're traveling at a high rate of speed, if a problem happens and you try to correct and the car starts sliding, that's where the problems come in. And a lot of these guys think like, well, I have a fast car. Their cars are not set up to brake. They don't have enough braking power, professional, real serious pro braking power to stop in time. The tires are not going to hold. So now they're sliding into things, and sadly people get killed and really hurt. And so, Aaron, what you've been doing in this space of trying to keep our streets safe, you've been very close to the city council member, Mr. Lee. Is that correct?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Lee's been working here at the LA City Council, Council Member Lee, and he's in your district. But you guys have been coordinating a lot of things. And the beautiful thing about Motor Gospel, you have been working with the courts. And so if young people do get in trouble in this, you actually have the capability of actually helping them so that they don't have these terrible records. And talk about that a little bit if you can.
Yeah. Angel Rodriguez, twice arrested for illegal street racing. And his mom went to pick him up at the station after he got out of jail. He was I'm not an expert on the penal system, but he was in a tank for a day or two, not in a federal penitentiary for 10 years or something like that, right? They took his car away and locked him up and such. His mom went and got him. She pleaded with the sergeant, then Sergeant Jesse Garcia, now Lieutenant Jesse Garcia, serious badass with a gun and a badge. I'm sorry, there's no nice Christianese word that captures the range of meaning in the word. You can try and find a word for piñata in Gringlish, and you can't do it. You need 15 English words to capture the range of meaning contained in the Spanish word piñata, right? So there's no nice Christianese word that tells you what a badass Jesse Garcia is. He's tough as nails, ex-Marine, has no sympathy for illegal street racers. He pretty much single-handedly created the most vigorous anti-street racing police task force anywhere in the world, and he's known for that. He's had death threats from the takeover crowd and such because he's so vigorous on anti-street racing. Well, this tough as nails badass with a badge and a gun, even before Angel was arraigned, he called me up and he said, "Can you do something with this kid?" It wasn't even anything official yet. He's got a heart as big as Texas. Sometimes you never know. Sometimes the person smiling in your face is your friend. Sometimes the person throwing the handcuffs on you and body slamming you is your friend, whether you realize it at the time or not. And he cared enough to pick up the phone, and he made a call, and we took Angel to the racetrack. Angel didn't have deliberately nefarious motives. He just wanted to drive fast. And boy, can a lot of us relate to that desire. He just wasn't doing it in quite the right place. We took him up to Willow Springs in the dark of night. We arrived on a Friday night. My racing wasn't starting till Saturday morning, but they were having an enduro Friday night, which in the case of Willow Springs, there's not a lot of light on the track. So you're watching cars blasting around in bumper to bumper traffic at triple digit speeds with headlights on. It's very, very dramatic scene, dust and smoke, tire smoke and fumes and everything. And he saw this, and he never street raced again. He literally, we didn't have to say a word to him. As soon as he saw the real thing, it was like a fish experiencing water for the first time. I tell people that my first NASCAR race was like a fish experiencing water for the first time. After I didn't start NASCAR till 26, I had been a hoodlum with a steering wheel all my life, and you don't know what it feels like to feel like an outcast and like you're the wrong species or something like that, like you don't fit in, and then you experience the right. Go ahead, sir.
No, I'm just thinking about all this thing. But the one thing that a lot of people don't realize is that you not only have had this experience, you came from NASA, and can you talk about what are some of the projects through NASA that you had the experience of being a part of?
Yeah. So, well, I got to be succinct here because I was about to launch into like 8 hours worth of stuff. Long story short, well, I'll just answer your question anecdotally. Challenger, we were reluctant to put civilians in space because putting somebody in a little tin can on top of a stick of dynamite and lighting the stick and hoping the fire comes off the bottom end instead of the whole thing blowing into smithereens, that's extremely risky. And the Russians and the Americans, the space race and the Cold War and stuff, we could talk for weeks about this that we don't have time for, but the Russians were much more willing to take chances than the Americans. The people, the occupants, were a lot more expendable for the most part, philosophically, in the Russian space program than they were in the American space program. So we reluctantly agreed to put a civilian school teacher in space on Challenger in 1986, if I'm remembering correctly. I was 6 months out of college. I was brand new rocket scientist, not knowing what was going on. And we killed that school teacher along with 6 other astronauts, a few minutes into the flight. And I was there.
I was watching it. I was actually in class, in my, classroom with all my colleagues, students.
Yeah.
And I remember we were all excited and we're all watching. And when this thing starts and we're all cheering and like, wow. And all of a sudden, poof.
Right.
And we're like, what just happened?
Right.
And then a couple of girls started screaming. And I was like, did that thing just blow up? And I was like, and then the reality hit that we just witnessed lives that just evaporated in front of us. And so, and then the teacher immediately jumped into heavy duty discussions. The panic happened, and the teacher shut the television off, and then we started, you know, we're going to have you on just to talk about the whole experience with NASA, but we don't want to forget poor Tere. We don't want to forget in the arts. But you know, I'm gonna let. I think Nina has some questions.
Yeah, I was gonna say before we move on to, I want to hear what Tere has been doing globally with her art. But Aaron, we still haven't talked about the documentary,
right?
Because y'all were on the red carpet for a reason.
Right? Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. So, there we are. So 20 years in the. Sorry, go ahead.
I was going to say, so tell me about that.
Right. So 20 years in the making. Longer stories than we have time for. God told me to take the gospel to Hollywood around my 40th birthday, which would have been 2002, I guess. And I'm not an actor. I wasn't an actor. I'm still not an actor. I'm a freak show. I just do me. I can't do. Arnold Schwarzenegger did an admirable job of compelling people to believe that he was an 8-month pregnant mother to be in a movie called I can't remember, what was it called, Motherhood or so. Remember? All right.
I remember.
Oh, if you get to see it, I would recommend. You will be surprised. I think you will be surprised. Nobody knew Arnold Schwarzenegger could act. We saw him as Terminator. We saw him as the macho, hardcore secret agent guy and stuff. He always played the same role, kind of like John Wayne or somebody like that, or James Dean. Or there are some very famous people on the silver screen, and you don't really know if they can act because they always play the same role. You know, is Lorelai Gilmore Lauren Graham? Are they the same person? Is Lauren an actress, or is Lorelai Gilmore, was she just playing herself on Gilmore Girls? We don't really know for sure. And then all of a sudden, Schwarzenegger came out in a movie as a pregnant mom, and he was absolutely compelling. He had the facial expressions of a woman having cramps and morning sickness and pressure on her bladder. And I have no idea. None of us knew that Schwarzenegger could act until he played the role of a pregnant woman. Well, in stark contrast to that, I'm Aaron Schwartzbart. I'm only Aaron Schwartzbart. I can't be anybody else. I don't play poker. I don't have a poker face. I'm not that shrewd. Yeah, there you go. So driving fast and saving lives since 2001, 20 years in the making. God told me to take the gospel to Hollywood 20 years ago. And here we are 20 years later with a few inches of footage at a time shot on different levels of cameras evolved over 20 years. We had a nightmare just trying to compile an hour-long worth of motor gospel documentary shorts starring Rodney Allen Rippey, starring Dean Cain, starring Larry Wilcox, starring Tere'S Schwartzbart, starring Councilmember John Lee, starring Mayor John Lewis, starring Joey Medina, counterculture, one of the Latin kings of comedy, very much not a Christian. His bread and butter is misogyny and racism and ethnic and everything. And he's an equal opportunity offender. He doesn't discriminate. He offends everybody, including Latinos. He pokes fun at himself. But you always know that he's doing it with love in his heart. Like a Don Rickles, it's never serious hatred. It's everybody knows he's joking. It's good-natured ribbing. He's made fun of me for carrying a Bible into their broadcasting studio and stuff, and it's always very good-natured. Starring this incredible cast of characters, ex-cons. Eddie Clark came back from Vietnam. We made him a killing machine and sent him to Vietnam, and then brought him back. And some people expected him to adapt. Some people probably, I hate to say it, this is a whole other tangent, but my friends that have been in war, they tell me the VA doesn't want them alive. They're a liability because they've seen too much and they know too much. So they suggest that our government is actually hoping for them to become suicidal or homeless or whatever, so they can't be credible witnesses if they were ever called to testify about any of the clandestine operations in which they've been involved. So Eddie Clark came back after being a killing machine in Vietnam, and whether people wanted him alive or not, he did live. He put 3 cops in the hospital. He went in the penitentiary for like 500 to life. And then, much to everybody's surprise, he got born again in solitary confinement in the penitentiary and came out as a born-again Christian, volunteering for the LAPD with Motor Gospel Ministries. He's passed on now, but he is in the movie, telling a bit about his story and the change that Jesus has made in his life as a man who hospitalized cops, who is now standing shoulder to shoulder with cops. I don't have time.
And the beautiful thing about this is, Aaron, your film recently won an award. And talk about that. Yeah, that's wonderful.
Right, best TV documentary, and this was the audience award. This is the
yes.
I guess that's like the People's Choice kind of thing, where this is the one the audience liked. So we had. It has won other awards. We have countless laurels for 20 years worth of documentary shorts. We're just getting our feet wet with a feature length now. That's a new thing for us. And this is one of the bigger awards we've won. And this was at the theatrical premiere at the Regal Theater, Sherman Oaks Galleria, on the red carpet there. They gave us this award for Driving Fast, Saving Lives. There you go. Liberal Hollywood. This was not a Christian film festival. There was every manner of all kinds of stuff in this film festival, but a bunch of Jesus freaks and a bunch of coppers and a bunch of ex-cons. Tony Rodriguez, candidate for state assembly here in Southern California. Rodney and just a broad range of humanity, court-ordered offenders, the kids on community service, and Tere'S Schwartzbart, Salvadoran American fine artist. She gets embarrassed when I say that, but it's true, right? Right. We the award thing, the red carpet it's just an amazing thing. Trusting God, looking back on the journey. One of the things about this is I didn't have this neatly planned out. I'm not that organized. I'm a ditzy creative. I'm a real bright guy in a lot of ways, but I'm not a military man. I'm not a planner. I'm not very punctual. I'm not very organized. I just sort of like Ferris Bueller. I just bop along from one adventure to the next under the influence of the Holy Spirit. Importantly, this is not. It's random as far as we know. It's probably not random as far as God is concerned. He's called me to do this stuff. I was a wannabe porn producer and porn consumer for many years before I got saved. Sordid stuff, not nice vanilla Bob Guccione, Hugh Hefner stuff. I made stuff that would have gotten Charles Manson off. You would think that I'm exaggerating to talk about how dark I was, but it's no exaggeration. My change was not a small change.
And you know what? And God planned in your life, Tere. And not only is she just so wonderful to be around, she is an incredible artist. And I had the pleasure of being at where was it? In Montrose. You had a wonderful art display. And so Tere's art is being featured at different galleries here in Southern California, here in Los Angeles. We don't want to forget you. Can you talk about tell about some of this wonderful things that you've done with your art?
1 second though. Sorry. I know you gotta talk. Okay. I gotta finish the sentence because you gotta
go.
No, it's okay, because on the subject of how this stuff seems very random for us, and we don't have to see the whole journey with this probabilistic trajectory and stuff, even though God could see it on the red carpet for one of the first film festivals that one of my documentaries was in, Motor Gospel Peace March, with liberal Hollywood elite, cops, and Jesus freaks on the red carpet. I got to meet Ron Jeremy. Ron Jeremy is the most famous porn producer on the face of the planet. He was my hero when I was 18. Wow. I got to meet him as a Jesus freak with the cross on my chest on the driving suit, and I was able to pray for Ron Jeremy. I asked, "Can I pray for you?" Tell him a little bit about my story. And he said, "Yes, please. I had a nearly fatal aortic aneurysm. I shouldn't be here right now. Please pray for me. I need all the prayer I can get." That was the end of that tirade about my past and stuff. You just never know what God's going to do in situations like this. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead, Terry.
No,
before we go on, and I do want to get to Tere because there's a lot of good stuff there. But where can people watch that film? Where can people watch the documentary?
Thank you. So, I'm so glad you asked, right? Because Tubi TV, there are two wonderful places, Tubi TV and TakenTV.com. Barry Alsobrook has been wonderful to us with TakenTV.com. I wouldn't in any way discourage you from watching on Taken TV. Please watch it on both. Support Barry Alsobrook. But for whatever it's worth, Tubi TV. When you watch it on Tubi TV, even though it costs you nothing, it's free on there. It puts a few pennies into Motor Gospel's 501c3 anti-street racing campaign for every view. So please watch it on Tubi TV so we get a little bit of money from it. I don't take a penny. We're all unpaid volunteers. It all goes directly to the youth work. Please watch it on Tubi TV and watch it on Taken TV. So you're supporting our wonderful friend and brother, Barry Alsobrook.
All right. So Aaron, is that like digit 2 and letter B?
Oh, Tubi. T like Tom, U like Ulysses, B like Baker, I. Tubi. Yeah, if you Google Tubi TV or whatever, and then on the Tubi TV, you can search and you'll find Driving Fast and Saving Lives Since 2001. Or you can search on Rodney Allen Rippey and you'll find Driving Fast and Saving Lives Since 2001.
All right, wonderful. I just put that in the comments.
Good.
Let's make sure I got it right. Can you see it there?
Yes, that's right.
Okay, good. And the other one is this?
Yes. Thank you.
Gotcha. All right. There you go. Now everybody can go and watch it.
Good.
And if you haven't seen it already, it is really worth your time. Let me tell you that. So, Tere, I'm so excited to meet you.
Hi there.
And so tell me, I know I see some of your artwork behind you on the wall. Yeah. And I know you have some other pieces, other places I've seen where you've gone around. You've actually been to Japan and some other places and all over the West Coast. Tell me what is going on with your art. I'm seeing a lot of growth there.
Oh, yes. Well, I'm grateful to the Lord that He been opened the door for me, and really, it is all His. As we spoke before, that we were called to. I've been called to be His ambassador, and then I am pursuing that until the day He called me, and to represent Him wherever I go, and do my best I can as a human. And
tell me, we have some new viewers who have not heard that story about God calling you. Can you tell that?
Sure. Yes. When I was new in the Lord, I came to an event that there was some evangelists preaching at this particular church. And then this guy started talking about we all been called to be an ambassador for Christ. And I go, ambassador for Christ? I thought that was just, I was new. I didn't know anything. And that was something like, that's just for, politics and all these government things from countries. What are these people talking here? Is that in the Bible? So then I went and dig in and right on, the Lord spoke to me through His word. And so I said, wow, shoo, I can be that one too, and then I just said, well, Lord, if you really want me to be, I can represent you, whatever you send me. But I never really thought that actually I will be in the middle of real diplomats. Humans. And so that was God's purpose when He took me to Japan, and we exhibit in the museum, and then the Salvadorian government offered me to exhibit in the embassy for diplomats of all Latin America. And then I was like, okay. I totally forgot. I've been walking with the Lord for so many years, but He actually, did what He told He was going to do. Because I forgot to mention that before I dig into the word, and then I went to a Bible study, and there were some ladies praying there. And then one particular woman came and prayed for me. And then she said, the Lord had been calling you to be his ambassador. Wherever you go, He will use you in the nation. I'll go, oh, great. I'm going to go to India or maybe Africa. And no, God have my Africa here in California and have my everything here, and that I start, working for His kingdom here in Los Angeles. And so, and now I am in Japan, and I'm with ambassadors there. And I said, Lord, it was totally the Holy Spirit came to me. And then I was just looking all around, and I said, wow. And that came to me when the woman was praying for me. And then I want to mention that was in the 1980, 85. So you figure out. I know I was it was a different world. Many of the probably the people that I've been watching the show have not been born yet.
Right.
Kind of old. Well, and we're still here for the Lord, right? So yeah. So yes, I felt like God was really came through with His word, and it's so beautiful when the Lord remind you those years, because that was not in my mind. Not even when I was just preparing everything. All was for me to show my art. But when I was in the middle there, I just look around and I was like, hey, I've been called for this. And then not necessary for that. To me, I was not saying I want to be ambassador for Him only with these people. My vision was like a big representing Him wherever I go. When I go to the market, when I go to the post office, and if we're still going, because sometimes we just order things from online. So really, and so, but why I remember that right there when I was in the middle of this group of people. They're different, I would say similar culture because in Latin America, but they were in their own life, serving the countries there. And in the midst of that, yes, I was this little girl there. So that's our God, how big He is. And I know that when He's calling us to do something, if we are walking in His obedience, we will go where He wants us to go. Because I will not go for myself. He will take me wherever He goes. He wanted to go. And right now, to answer your question, what's going on right now? I am working in a different project. I have been being exhibit with groups here in the city, and then and also I am working to. I'm trying to develop this project to show in either August or September with people of El Salvador here in Los Angeles. And I did go to El Salvador in January just to see there and see what we can do there. So it's a lot of work that we planning in the future. I don't know what the Lord has, if He wanted to continue or not. It's about Him.
Right. Right. So, it's always about Him.
Exactly.
So did you get this calling from the Lord before you started your art, or were you already an artist by the time you got this call?
Oh, before, way before. I started, that's another thing. I think in the last show I did mention that He called me when I was actually in a I think it was an art show on that I was watching. I mean, looking this beautiful painting. I was love art because my mother raised us making things with our hands,
right?
And so I was looking at this painting, and then I just said to myself, "Oh, gee, I can only dream." By that time, I was already married, and my life was totally changing because it's different when you recently get married. You probably know, Nina. Okay. It's a very different world. So, while I was standing there, I go, "Oh, my future is not this." I mean, I heard so many negativity against art and from people, and say, "Oh, that was just that not for me." I said in my mind, "I'm just a dreamer." And then when I said I'm just a dreamer, it's not for me. And so I felt like the Holy Spirit was telling me, stop dreaming, go and paint. I was like, I look all around and I feel this hitting me, and I started almost crying. I mean, I was with tears. I was looking around the people, and then I was just like, okay, what can I do now? And so I decided to go back to school, and because I didn't know anything about art. I mean, like, you go to a museum, you see a beautiful art, you can see so many things around you, but you don't know how it's being made. What are the materials? What is it? How you start it? So I just said, Lord, what am I going to do? I'm going to go back to school. So that's what I did. I went to school, and then I started my journey since as already an adult. And I never had the opportunity to do not even a drawing. I had to start from zero, taking drawing. And I have to tell you this, when a person like an adult start, it's different. Yes, because we accustomed to do a lot of things with our hands. But we focus, but we need the more precious things, which is time to practice, because practice made everything come better. And so that's what I was thinking that was lacking from time. And every time I was saying, I mean, my pieces are now like regular pieces that are somebody who has been trained since they were born. I know people that are just right where the wound. Parents are artists, and they'll be, teaching the kids how to do the things. So they are very easy to do a piece of art, because there is in them. It's nothing. It's just that's what they like was at the beginning, studying, doing it. But for an adult, he has to be an engineer or an architect or a doctor who knows that kind of stuff to do a perfect piece of art. But but me, no, it was a hard work, and it's still.
Yeah. I'm sure.
I was going to jump in and say, if anybody have missed the first episode, I just put it in the chat. This is actually Tere'S first show when she was on the chat session. So highlight that, and you can go back and look at it after this wonderful interview. Keep going, Tere.
Okay.
Yeah, I do want to point something out right here. In the same way that, as Aaron says, he was born with that need for speed, and as he says, something dark in him, but God had already put in Aaron everything he needed to have to become the person that God had ordained him to be, even when he didn't know it yet. In the same way, God did that with you, Tere.
Exactly. Yes.
Already put that gift inside you, that desire, put you in a family where that was nurtured, and then when the time came and he gave you the word, you're going to be an ambassador to the nations. You had no idea what that was going to be through. And yet all of that he had already prepared you for. So by the time you're going to school and you're learning art, everything is, culminating, it's coming together just as God meant for it to. So that is just such a wonderful thing to think of, that even at my age, even late in life, when God speaks to us and he tells us, this is what I have for you, this is what I want you to do, sometimes it's so overwhelming because you think, what, me do that? Are you kidding? But he only calls us because he has already been preparing us from the womb for what he wants us to do.
Yeah.
That is just tremendous. I love that.
Beautiful.
Yeah, it's all his plans in us.
Yes.
So that's what we've been doing. So the project that I'm working is, I was asked a question to me, what did it mean to be Salvadorian in this country? And I just said, well, that question is not just go for me. I'm not going to just do a piece of art just for myself. Representing me, because there is so many things. And I just start working and asking people, what did it mean to you to be here from your country, or different, not just one Salvador, not only through Salvadoreños, but also to other people from other countries. I asked him, how you feel to be here? Well, I got so many answers, and then I said, okay, now we'll see if I compare and see what I can do. It gives us a different things when we have a photo or a beautiful view, and that I want to paint something that what I'm seeing. But when I want to interpret something, it is a different thing. It has to come from with a different perspective, that I will communicate a message to the people. And to interpret that, what is in that piece, what does it mean? So I'm working on that project right now for pretty much will be ready, I think, pretty soon. And I don't know where it's gonna be exhibited because I forgot to mention the government of El Salvador, the consular from Los Angeles. We've been communicating to see if we do several events with them. So that's what we are working right now. And also that I received a letter from the government that recognize me, that recommend me to other people to exhibit my work, whatever.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
And also they allow me, well, not allow, they asked me that they want me to register, sort of like the Library of, what do you call
Library
here?
of Congress?
Congress here in United States. They had the same thing in El Salvador, so they, my name is there and all my information.
Yeah.
For her art, she's
For-
like
for my
registered
art.
as a national artist
Yeah.
laureate or whatever the word
Yes,
would be.
There you go. National treasure. She's like a national treasure.
Yes, right.
Yeah. So that is
National
I love that. You lifted up Jesus and Jesus lifted up to you.
Amen.
That's right.
That's what he says.
That's right.
Yes.
Yeah.
And if I could interject, because she doesn't want to brag about herself, she's a little shy. She's not as chatty as I am. She doesn't have a political ambition in her body whatsoever. She's the most simple, unspoiled, humble girl, and all this stuff is coming her way. Maybe despite the fact that she's not that kind of ambitious, climbing, scratching, clawing, or maybe because of the fact that she's not that kind of ambitious. She Salvadoran embassy in Japan with ambassadors and diplomats from all over the world were looking at her art without her having any kind of political ambitions or any of that. That got back to the Salvadoran consulate and the government that has made her now like a national artistic treasure and given her a letter of endorsement from the Salvadoran Secretary of State's office. Mm-hmm. It's almost like Joseph and Pharaoh's court kind of thing, where she's not looking for any of that. She's just looking to love the Lord and spread that love.
That is fantastic. Wonderful. I love that.
Yeah, so
I love that.
That's where we are right now.
Wow.
And actually, I did a little. That was the 4th of July. I said I should do something. And you know what? There's another thing. I used to take me so many hours to do a piece of art, but I discovered something very simple. I think it up. I love the abstract style, so I did something very quickly the other day, which is the 4th of July. I think Aaron put that on Facebook. I don't know if Ronnie saw that.
And Rodney, that was one. I pulled that photo off of Facebook and sent it in the email. Can you?
Oh darn! I wish if I would have known, I would have pulled it.
I got it right from. If I move a little bit, I'm gonna go and grab it and show it to you.
Oh please!
Please. Oh yeah, go get it.
It's a small piece.
Oh, okay. This is wonderful. Well, again, Aaron, you and Teddy are a real dynamic duo. You doing things that it's really, you guys are really an odd couple. You really are. I mean, because you come from the mechanical and engineering side.
There you go. This is a small piece.
Hold it up. Let's see that. Oh wow.
Love it.
Can you see it?
Yeah.
The
lighting might not do it justice, but it's a gorgeous red, white, and blue abstract.
Okay.
I love the vivid colors.
This way, actually, or this way. It's an abstract piece, and that's the whole thing that it has to be. It's oil, and I can say I still got it.
Oh, it's not dry yet.
Yeah. Oh no, I just did it the 4th of July.
That's how fresh it is.
Yeah, it just says okay, this is a tribute for America. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you so much. I don't know how you see it. Can you which side do you like better? This way or this way?
I can't decide.
I like it sideways because it reminds you know what? And that would be a cool print to put on a shirt.
Right?
I want to find a way how to do that. So
That's an excellent idea.
We'll figure it out. No problem.
Next time we have y'all on, we'll probably find out that there's T-shirts that we.
Right. Today's fashion. How you like that?
Oh yeah. That is one of that is the other thoughts that we have. So this is it. I'm gonna put it back there and clean my hand.
So Aaron, you probably know while Tere'S is cleaning your hands, where can people go to see her art? Do they have to go to Japan?
Right. Let's see. She just finished at the Colony Theater in Burbank. More irony. Colony Theater in Burbank was hosting a live musical play called Durantony and Cleopatra. It was a sort of a Shakespearean story of Antony and Cleopatra, set to the music of Duran Duran with a total 80s vibe.
Oh, wow.
And in collaboration of some sort of artistic osmosis or collaboration or something, they had an exhibit called Hungry Like the Wolf, which was one of Duran Duran's big hits, of course, and a groundbreaking music video when MTV was first coming on in the 1980s, and people were wondering, was there still going to be a place for radio because of music video and stuff? So with all of that, here's this little girl, Jesus freak from El Salvador, with her beautiful fresh fruits from El Salvador, colorful paintings from El Salvador, in exhibit in liberal Hollywood, actually Burbank at the Colony Theater, with an exhibit called Hungry Like the Wolf, which was definitely not a Christian song or a Christian music video, and a live play, a live performance of Durantony and Cleopatra. So that was Colony. That just ended. BG is coming up.
Actually, it's still going on.
Oh, is this? Go ahead.
Yeah, that exhibition is still on. It's going to be ending the 16th of this month.
Oh, come to Colony. Yeah, I stand corrected. Go ahead.
And then I also will have another exhibition of a BG gallery in Santa Monica at
Bergamot Station.
Bergamot Station. I don't know if you're familiar with that. There's sort of like an art colony in Santa Monica. And so I will have their 5 pieces. I'm showing with this group of people there. So, galleries have I haven't had any solo with them. And then I'm looking forward to do my solo pretty soon. But right now I've been exhibited in different places. I have a Lexi Luke gallery. I exhibited a couple times this past month. And so, we're moving on, showing our art there to the world, see what the Lord has for us.
And then the one with the consulate, I don't know that they've picked a location yet, but
no, I have 3 places they might be, but I'm not so sure yet.
We want to definitely follow up after you guys confirm what's going to happen with the consulate. We'd like to kind of and hopefully. Last time, Aaron, when you went to Japan, you had sent me some wonderful photos. So hopefully you could, supply us with some photos and we can do a follow-up of what happened once you, do your next big exhibit. So wow, it's wonderful. I mean.
And next time we have y'all on, I want to hear the story of how you two even met and how you fell in love. I have a feeling there is something amazing in that story.
There certainly is. There certainly is.
All right. Well, you promised to come back and give us all the details on that.
You got that right. You got that right.
Thank you for having us. It was awesome and a blessing for us. I mean, for me,
I'm sure for him too. Yeah.
Indeed.
And everybody out there, AC Cruz, Elvira, Jacqueline Edwards, Carrie, all of our wonderful people who were on and chatting and saying hello. Thank you. God bless you. We hope you have a blessed Monday. And again, everybody, you've been watching the chat session here on the This Way Network. And again, today we had Aaron Schwartzbart and his lovely wife, Tere. Thank you so much for being on. And I'm going to kick it back to Nina and let her close us out.
Thanks for joining us, everyone. We are so glad you were here today. And come back next time that we have Aaron and Tere to hear their love story. And y'all, be of good courage. Thanks for having us. Yeah. And y'all be of good courage because God is with us and we are not alone. Bye.
Amen.
Amen. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye bye.
Bye.